Welcome to this day. We're so excited to say it's Love Morning.
Love morning.
It's Love Morning.
Love morning.
It's Love Morning.
I love you.
I love you too. Good morning. Welcome to a very special Love Morning. I am joined here by Lisa.
Hi.
I am John. And today is my 1-year birthday of removing intoxicants from my life.
Woo, woo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hands-free roof raising. Woo! Feel free to raise the roof at home.
It's amazing.
I'm-
It's amazing. I'm celebrating you.
Thanks, baby. I feel great. I really, it feels like way more than a year. Feels like a lot has happened. So we're going to be sharing gratitude about that and other things in a moment. This is a daily practice. We're glad that you're here. And if you want to say hello, please do. Please share some gratitude. I see hello,
Hi,
Gerbot.
everybody.
Hello, Joyous. Good morning, Bear Herbert. Great morning to you, Jason. Hello, Jobin. Hello, Brandy. Thank you, Gerbot. Thank you, Tassie. Woo 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 woo.
Woo, 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 woo.
Just so you know, this is the ideal looking place.
Okay.
But,
Noted.
We are, as always, trying to get right with our technology. So I'm feeling so grateful for where my life is at right now. I had a really I went to a party last weekend and I drove myself there knowing that I didn't need a ride home. I got there at 6 when it started. I got there and the host was like, "Oh, hey, I'm just taking the trash out. So I'm going to shower, but make yourself at home." No, it was nice. But I was like, I always showed up at least an hour, usually longer than that, just because I wanted the party to be going. Subconsciously, I think I wanted to be going so that I could slide in with a little buzz already, and it would be less awkward. And it didn't feel awkward at all. That's part of the growth of this year. And I was just really thinking about while I was there that how different going there myself, getting there on time, being very conscious about speaking with people and sitting down with individual people. And even though I had a lot of energy while I was there, I wasn't butterflying, which I think was, I enjoyed that about being intoxicated, of just kind of like flowing through a party and what's next, moving. And that's not my flow anymore as much. And I was enjoying I didn't talk with everybody, but I got good talks with several people. And I had this realization as other people in the party were getting a little slippery because they were having a special occasion, that, oh yeah, it didn't even really cross my mind that I want to drink or I should be drinking. It was just like everything in my life is in this place where alcohol would disrupt it.
Mm-hmm.
I was staying with my brother's family. I was hanging out with my nephew. I was, there's our relationship. There's all these pieces that alcohol would, alcohol, ketamine, GHB, each of those things, doing once wouldn't destroy everything, but it wouldn't be great. Like even if all my responsibilities, I feel more confident in them because everything's under my control, including my partner. She's under my control
at all times.
So say a few more hellos. Good morning, Painty. It's a beautiful life, says Natasha. Yes. That was, I wrote something this morning and I was really, I've been talking about that phrase and I keep forgetting who told me, but that addiction narrows the circle of what gives you joy, and the path to enlightenment expands that. And realizing that how much in my life is beautiful, and especially in the context of us, that the magnitude of things that I appreciate, just moments, touches, words, even feelings of longing. I'm like, oh, that feels good. And whereas when I was assaulting myself with a let's reach for the spiritual stars every night, then everything else, the volume was not as much, I mean, I would even, in former other relationships, I would be like, let's have sex in the morning so that I can get high sooner, because I can't climax when I'm on drugs. So but I'd rather spend more of the day high. So to give you an idea of what that circle of joy, sex was on the outside of the circle compared to getting high. Yeah. So, and I was talking with someone in gratitude yesterday who was just beginning to make some choices, just cutting some things out of their life. And it's like, I definitely do not have the mindset that was bad, that was evil, that was, that was like, in fact, I was making some graphics and I'm like, hell on one side and heaven on the other, to describe this chapter 1 and chapter 2 of my life. And I was like, I like the visual, but that's not true. I didn't live in hell until I got sober. I chose certain things at the expense of others. And those choices over time, as addiction got stronger, became less choices for my highest self. But it was not bad. And as I was thinking about in terms of book 1 and book 2, just book 1 was kind of getting a little stagnant, like the story arc hit kind of the end. And so to keep going is it's like a sitcom where it's like, what are we going to do? I guess, And so I really like this way of feeling that book 1 was awesome. It had an end, and I'm in book 2. And there are awesome things about book 1 that when I'm in book 2 and I go, oh, that would be awesome. I go, well, it doesn't work in book 2. You can't, it's a choice. You can only, you choose one at the expense of the other. And I'm like, okay, well, I already know how book 1 plays out. It was rad. Let's see how book 2 plays out. So far, so good. Book 2 is a love story.
I'm so proud of you, of this guy, and also of how transparent you are about it. I hope it reduces the friction or the obstacles for somebody else, who's struggling and wanting to at least consider what it might be like on another chapter. And, I was asking you last night, how much of your desire for, the way I put it was, how much of your addiction was fueled by a passion for cosmic consciousness and expanded states versus avoidance? And I loved your answer.
I would say that's kind of the wrong way to ask the question, because I think the other side of the question was, and how much of it was escape, right? Or
right, avoidance of,
yeah. And I was like,
feelings.
Well, and I'd say it's hard to answer that, because all of the avoidance was because of addiction. There was a lot of the expanded states that was not about addiction, but as I got, I probably answered it much more poetically last night, but basically
you said intoxicant. My love for intoxicants was fueled by that passion, but 100% of addiction is fueled by avoidance.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that the conscious choice within the framework of my beautiful life to explore altered consciousness and divine states and epiphanies and awareness, that it was a beautiful thing in balance. And then it became choosing that over the other beautiful things in my life.
Mhm.
And that's when the addiction became more and more obvious.
I think John has a somewhat unique relative to kind of our usual thoughts about inebriation, in that we're taught through AA, like, you have an addiction when you are out of integrity, right? When you're lying to people, when you're causing destruction in your life. And one of the first things you told me when we met is that, that part of your life was easy to persist because you actually felt an integrity and you weren't having a big cascade of destructive effects in your
Right.
life. And so you were able to justify like keeping it going for a really, really long time. But since we've talked about it since then, and since you've looked at yourself more deeply, like you can see that there was a day, when you got called out for a lack of integrity, and there was a cost that you just had been willing to pay, but now are seeing the value of more.
Right. Yeah. I think that's that idea of I was willing to pay the costs. I had a distorted view of what I was letting go of that cost, but I was choosing it. Um, yeah, and I feel like I I would do self evaluations, and I would talk to people and be very honest and say, I understand that on paper, from the way that we've been raised, my use is problematic. However, let me spec out my life and how I'm spending my days and the impact that I'm having and the consequences of these, like, um, and I could justify it pretty
Mhm.
well. Which is why I don't, it's been important for me to not
Demonize.
demonize the
Mhm.
past. That was hard initially. I was thinking, like, how many years did I waste? And my therapist was kind of like, let's kind of get into the headspace of everything was perfect.
Mhm.
You needed every single bit of it, and that has been really helpful and helpful me to see, like, it's easier for me to witness and speak about addiction and to people that are in addiction, whether they know it or not, or they acknowledge it or not. Because it's like, I get no judgment, and I'm not even saying you should stop. That's when I talked to my therapist yesterday, and she goes, "Do you remember when we first talked?" And I didn't, but I basically called her up and said, "Look, I do ketamine every day. That's not what I want to talk to you about. So, are you cool with that?" And she goes, "Yeah, okay, sure." And it allowed me over a long period of time to work on the trauma stuff that was connected to addiction.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't have been able to, you know, and I had a couple coaches and therapists where we had to have that conversation so that it wasn't this.
Focus on fixing a problem, and yeah.
And because the challenge is that if you come to therapy as a therapist from the perspective of, like, this is a problem, then every issue you can't help but say, do you see how this would be better if you were not getting drunk every night?
Uh-huh.
Which is true, but the person who is going through it knows that,
Mhm.
and they don't need to be told it over and over again because they are living life. I mean, I was 100% of the time living my life. So if someone had a brilliant insight, my willingness to accept their genius over my own was pretty small.
Mhm.
Yeah. I moved last night, the alcohol that's above the fridge, and I put it into the garage.
Oh, wow.
Most of the alcohol that's around, but I saw that I had back in there, I had this little bottle that really, like, I was like, "Whew, I'm gonna throw that away." And I go, I'm gonna just share it and then throw it away. We began as like a tequila bottle, and I put stickers on it, and this was like my flask. Because like if I brought it somewhere and they go, you can't have that here, I would throw it away. It's no big deal. But I probably refilled this hundreds of times and would fill it with vodka. And then I would have it in my backpack, and like in the cab, I get out of the cab, and before I went into something, I'd go like gulping, like 3 shots, and then go into the party. And then if I was at a party and it was awkward of like, I felt like, oh, I'm drinking a lot, then I could go in the bathroom and have one more shot on my own and not kind of tell everyone how much I'm drinking.
Wow.
So I could keep the whatever buzz I wanted with, just in case the party vibe was not at the drinking level that I wanted to be at. So this is looking back, I see this and I go, oh, this is an area where I was being deceitful, and I was being, where my addiction was affecting my choices, my decisions, and my transparency with people, even though I wouldn't have lied about it, but it was the whole like scheming of it is addiction thoughts, addiction mind that I just was like totally unaware of when I was in it. So goodbye, well drunk bottle. Maybe I should put a message in it, throw it in the ocean.
I like that idea. I'm so grateful for this man. I'm so grateful for your willingness and your courage to face this before we met, and for everybody that helped him do that so that you would be available when we did.
I want to give a couple specific, very deep thank yous today. One is to Ladybug, who is the one who showed me with tough love, you are out of integrity, and put her and pulled away her relationship with me to put an exclamation point on it. And I am so grateful. It took that to make me pay attention. And I'm grateful for Misty, my therapist, that said, yeah, no problem. We don't have to talk about that, until she helped me to see. And I'm grateful for you, the people who are here live, and the people who've been paying attention to my journey this last year. You have heard me in times of absolute bliss, and you have heard me in times in a lot of doubt. And I really have felt the acceptance and the love. And even as I'm trying to figure out, like, oh gosh, I'm too dependent on external, affirmations. My therapist is like, yeah, and we need that. So I'm so grateful for the love and the feeling of unconditional acceptance. I really feel that when I have shared things that I think are the reasons why I don't deserve respect or don't deserve period, I really have heard and felt the outpourings of love, and it's been a huge help this year. And then finally, I won't say it finally, maybe before I go to finally, spoiler alert, she's the finally. My family's so supportive. My mom especially. My mom has been sober since I was in junior high, when she checked herself into a program, and the family went through that program. And so the idea that this is, in my bloodline has been a part of my life for a long time. And I have been afraid to share with my mom any of my doubts, because I don't want her to worry, and I don't want her to and I was afraid to say I'm cutting these things out of my life, because I was worried about what if I go back. Mm-hmm. And I'm worried about that in this moment too. I wrote some things, and I write things where I'm going, that was then, this is now, and look at how, and I'm like, boy, this is going to be a real rough one to reread. after a relapse. But I trusted my mom, and I feel so loved and supported by her. And I feel a camaraderie with her too. Like, I feel like it's something that nobody else in the family understood, that the magnitude of what she did for the family. And so I have an admiration for her that I don't think I fully understood before.
And that's how I feel about you.
And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful you, as this fictional AI creation, was downloaded into my program as a gold coin. Like, this is what is possible when you do the work. This is how open your heart can be, and this is the kind of love that can be let in and that you can bestow upon another human. And I am so clear that this is what book 2 is about. Thank you.
I feel like I'm getting the good end of the deal. Let's all take a breath together.
Maybe we'll just share some gratitudes if anybody has more gratitudes in any realm. I've
seen some coming up here.
Feeling really grateful for houseplants. I'm not sure why that's so strong for me. I was talking about them yesterday. You guys heard me giving a tour. Boy, I'm so grateful for.
I love his love of houseplants.
For the life all around, and just the little energy of living things around that reminds me of the ever-present force of nature, the slow motion unfolding of the universe that plants just kind of let you see at a pace that you can see it, and not like kids grow up and that's too fast, but a plant, you can kind of go, oh yeah, everything's in motion, everything's growing. And some feel like that is a metaphor or a helpful, just, yeah. Johnny says, grateful you're sharing your story. Thank you, Johnny. I was talking with Lisa this week about, I sometimes have trouble paralleling or seeing myself in other professionals in the world, coaches and things like that, because I'm almost always talking about me, I. And my experience has been that because of the overlap of human experiences, that genuine, authentic sharing is understood by everyone, and you learn, you see that part of that in yourself. So, and I have a real fear of speaking to anything other than my own experience. Like, I barely have the wisdom to speak to my own experience. I'm totally aware that I'm trying to deal with all my bias and my experiences and all that stuff. So how could I possibly say you should? But a year ago, when I had this realization, like, oh wow, there is a level of lack of self-knowing at the root of some of this. There is I believed I was a world-class self-love ambassador. And then to hear that, or to see where my self-love was problematic.
Or just limited.
Limited, right. Limited. I had the feeling and the kind of skewed conclusion that, well, then I shouldn't be talking. I shouldn't be sharing this because I'm even less of authority than I thought. How to live, how to be a good person, and I've really discovered that, of course, there's huge value in sharing this journey, and that perhaps that recognition that people identify with truth is a lot more true when that truth is the daily struggles with addiction and love versus the pink-haired Burning Man quest for divine experiences and yeah. So I don't know where I'm going, but I was gonna say, but I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing, but I'm not sure about that's true either. I've been, I feel like I'm still in that place of removing onion layers to see who I am. I think in some way I will share that journey, but I don't know what it will look like.
I think the way that each of us embarks on that journey for ourselves is so personal and is the most inspiring part of any person. And I obviously am biased that the way you explore yours is deeply inspiring to me. The way that you're willing to consider, to be thoughtful, to reflect, to try is quite rare in men, first of all, and in people at our age bracket. I find most people, as we age, just get kind of more entrenched in this is what I know, and nothing can shake me from what I know, and really just become more and more kind of anchored in beliefs. And I see you continuing to study your beliefs and be willing for them to be an evolving part of who you are. And I think that's why we're together.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes courage to be willing to change your mind, or to see things from another perspective. And rather than it making you seem weak to me, it makes you seem remarkable to me.
I just had the thought that, let's see if I can articulate this, that there is a confidence that can come from conviction of uncertainty. And I felt like I lost some of that. But I am growing into a confidence that comes from trust. Like, it's a faith. It's a religious, it's a spiritual kind of thing. Like, okay, what if I just trust that whatever I am, that is perfect.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of confidence, because it also means that you can't hold on to expectation for what happens. But I do feel like I have a deeper type of confidence now. I'm more in control, and part of that control is in surrender. I'm choosing to let go of some things instead of like kind of forcing my mind to numb around those certain things.
Well, and it's a paradox, right? To feel like if I acknowledge that my essential nature is perfect, can I also accept that I'm always learning and growing and changing and in need of refinement, and that's also worthwhile, right?
I think that the key is noticing the word need in that sentence.
Uh-huh.
Are you in
Good.
need of refinement?
Right.
No. Need is where it starts to feel, it takes the joy out of the journey. But if it's, I mean, the Byron Katie and Eckhart Tolle both talk about this dilemma of, well, if you just accept the now, if you live in the now and you accept, you love what is, you just do nothing.
You become complacent.
Yeah. And then, the Course in Miracles says, I need do nothing. And I remember Jacob Glass really speaking this a lot. That sentence, I need do nothing, he would just hammer it. The key is need.
Mm-hmm.
I need do nothing.
I can.
And then from
do
there,
something.
you have this, now I can trust, whether it's God or my higher self or the
That your
universe.
worthiness isn't dependent upon changing or evolving or excellence or any of it.
The rules of the game aren't get to a certain place on the board and win, which I think it's so easy to fall into that.
Totally.
The rules of the game is keep double checking what the rules are for you, and are you following them? And if you're following the rules for yourself, and keep here's an area that I didn't know. Here's a rule that isn't part of my game, but I've been following it because it was given to me from outside. And so you just keep doing introspection on the rules. And if you follow them, it doesn't matter what you do. And you will do stuff, but it doesn't matter.
And love each other.
I told you I'd let you go in 20 minutes. Are you up for another 5? Yeah, okay. I want to just check in with a few people here and say thank you for everyone who has been listening and sharing love and stories. Thank you, Dean and Carolyn. Carolyn says, I remember the first thing you said to me was, how do you feel about street drugs? I probably mentioned a specific drug if I'm thinking about it. Kelly says, I'm grateful for the realization I had in therapy yesterday. The butterfly cannot go back to being a caterpillar. Yeah. Grateful for the intense sense of self and expression I am feeling lately. I missed me, says Abigail.
What are you exploring out there in your lives? What are your edges of rule following and total self-acceptance at the same time?
Kevin asked, when you first stopped using, how long did it take for you to feel comfortable being yourself, going out, socializing without substances? Well, it's been a year, so I'll say at least a year.
Although
that's not true. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I would say that actually, you're right. That there was a time in the beginning when I just felt like I'm going to deal with anxious now, and I really don't feel anywhere near the kind of anxiousness that I used to feel.
Wow.
And I think a lot of that has to do with that it wasn't about sobriety specifically. It was about working on the self-love. And so my insecurities are softened. And it's that same idea of trust and faith. And like this is who I am. And I've been working on the need to impress people, the need to get external feedback. So I still like telling stories and having people laugh and feeling like I'm awesome, but I don't start a social, especially a large situation, from a deficit of like, I hope people like me, which I wasn't thinking consciously, but it was happening at some level. Like, make sure you live up to people's expectations. Make sure you are the most dynamic one in the room. Make sure,
which doesn't actually facilitate connection. It facilitates you feeling comfortable. But as soon as the underlying thing is addressed, I think we can see each other in a way that is so much more compassionate and real, and actually
Totally.
feel genuine curiosity about other people's experience, and and a real connection can transpire.
That's very true, because I think like when I was having this subconscious anxiety or out like insecurity and anxiety, whether it was overt or subconscious, my my playbook or my pattern, my desires was to impress,
Uh-huh.
and that could be a connecting thing. But I think I confuse sometimes people being delighted by me with connecting.
Mhm.
It was a level of connection, but not the same. A little performative sometimes.
Mhm.
Which is why my friends always said, "Oh, I like John way better than Halcyon." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Halcyon is awesome. Everyone loves Halcyon." Like, yeah, I like John better. Like, like you probably notice I say I'm John here sometimes, sometimes I say I'm Halcyon, and I love both parts of myself. Um,
Well, they're blending.
yes, that's the goal, right? Integration. Gerbot says, "Thank you for this discussion and reflection today." Thank you, Gerbot, and thank you
Thanks,
for
Robot.
your consistent support.
Totally.
Yeah. Hello, Thalia. Thank you. Thank you, Jobin. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, everyone. Thalia is grateful for a weekend in LA, attending a huge costume event. Ooh, I now have a 2-drink maximum, and that works well for me. I can be intoxicated by the environment and the energy
Mm,
instead of substances.
totally.
I like my bottle story is kind of evident that I don't know if I have the ability to have 2 drinks. You know, I I never went to a party intending to have 2 drinks. If I'm that's what people say, "Oh, it's like it's non-alcoholic, it tastes just like a cocktail." I'm like, "Why the fuck would you drink a cocktail that's not alcoholic?" I mean, give me grape soda with no sugar if you're gonna like, but if I don't want a cocktail. I want to get buzzed.
Here you found a girl who's crazy about mocktails.
We don't. Cacao, is that a mocktail? Thank you, Eric. Good to see you. Hello, and thank you. Um,
Mm,
yeah, it's interesting. I think sobriety for me, and I keep saying sobriety for me is no ketamine, GHB, and alcohol.
right.
I'm embracing plant medicines and other chemicals as part of my healing. I'm having caffeine as we speak. I have continued to find certain medicines helpful to me, but the things that I removed were the ones that were habitual daily things for me. So nothing that is not done ceremoniously or the rest of the intoxicants are gone. That being said, what I was trying to say, but making it long because I want to ruin your day and keep you here as long as possible. Um, I just like I didn't understand when people talked about their pain before December, January, February. I didn't understand when people talk about sobriety. Same way I didn't understand my mom's journey. I didn't understand anyone's journey. I mean that
Or
the
true love.
or true love. Yeah. Well, true love, I felt like I had a sense of, but it just wasn't on something I was going to experience. Like I see it in people. I see people. The way people love their dogs. I've never felt that. But even when people talk about their pain, I didn't get that. Now that I'm in true love, I'm like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. I understand why people said the things they said. Totally. Um, Gerbot is grateful that alcohol is not one of his vices. Lisa, good morning. Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks for
Brand,
being here, everybody.
yes.
Can we give it up for this guy?
Thank you for celebrating with me.
Let's shower him with appreciation today and let him know that this journey has been worth it at so many levels, seen and unseen. If any of his words have touched you or impacted how you think or orient, please let him know today.
Thanks, love.
I'm going to take him out.
Yeah, we're going to celebrate. There's a place that has dollar beers. Thank you. Yes, Lisa does look beautiful in pink. Well, let's have a hug and go off into our days, remembering that we're all perfect. We need do nothing. But as we spend time with people who are being genuine, authentic, it helps us to spend time and energy recognizing who we are when we're being true and authentic. And we slowly have more courage to do that in the world. And we can be the ones that are permission givers to others as we allow ourselves to be. As scary as that is, that bravery demonstrates to everyone that that is possible. And so we can, by us doing it and by us supporting others when we see it, those two actions, that's part of just when you need to do nothing, that involves those two actions as far as I'm concerned. It is allowing yourself and having the courage to let it out. And when you witness somebody being courageous, shower them with praise and affirmation and strokes so that the pressures of the world don't knock you back into the stuff that doesn't work. So in this moment, wherever you are, give yourself a hug the body you're in or the body you're with. And let's be grateful for these bodies, these incredible healing machines. Let's be grateful for one another, the gratitude we've heard from one another, the recognition that as we share our journeys, we get to learn from one another. Our human experiences are magnified. We get to witness just a little bit more of this incredible, fertile planet through the eyes and experiences, the heartbreak, the triumphs of one another. Let's be grateful we get to share it with one another as we take a deep breath in and squeeze. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb, who I think would be very proud of me, and all of you, thank you for being here for our Love Morning. It's part of Hug Nation. I'm here every day at 9 o'clock Pacific for thoughts of gratitude and growth. So thanks for being a part of it. Join me any day. Sometimes Lisa's here.
Sometimes.
Those
Thanks,
are the
everybody.
good times. Thank you. Paul is here, coming up on celebrating his 28th year.
Whoop, whoop.
Amazing. Well,
have a beautiful day, everybody.
And if you or someone you know is wondering if there is a way to move the dial towards a little bit less using in a way that you don't want to be doing, shoot me a note. And at the very least, I will wave my pom-poms for you. But maybe there's more we can do together. So I love you. Have a beautiful day.